I figured I would just start off by talking a little bit more about Charlie Kirk, but not the drama that's been ensuing. I feel like other people are better equipped to talk about all the cancellations that are going on right now. I wanted to talk specifically about how conservative Christian churches are handling what happened last week, because the obligatory thing I feel like I have to say, which is true, is that what happened to him should not have happened. I didn't want that to happen. I think Ellie Mistal, I mentioned this last week, Ellie Mistal of The Nation said it well. I wanted to see Charlie Kirk grow old and watch everything he worked for crumble. That would have been the ideal situation. But the thing that Jack Jenkins, a reporter for Religion News Service, pointed out is that over the past week, there have been a lot of memes circulating in conservative Christian circles. I will show you the illustration that went with his article about this, just because it's strange. These are an assortment of AI images that have been circulating among conservatives in some cases. And this one at the bottom left, where it's Kirk and Martin Luther King and Abe Lincoln, because they were all assassinated for basically the same thing, or so we are told. You also, if I remove myself here, you got Charlie hanging out with Jesus, because of course. He's comforting on the upper right. He's comforting that Ukrainian woman who was assaulted. Was she killed? I believe she was killed by a man on the subway. You got Kirk and the Pope, the previous Pope. And hey, another run-in with Jesus. Okay. I get that people do this every time anyone dies for any reason. They want to make it look like everything is great, and that's they're doing fine in the afterlife. Whatever. It's weird because those people seem to think that Charlie Kirk only ever said wonderful things about faith and free speech and literally nothing else, because they get so mad. At least I have seen this online. They get so mad anytime people quote or show clips of things Kirk actually said, because he has a few different personas when he's going out. He has the debate me, I want to debate your civil rights, and this is fun and it's all a sport for him. And this is what he was doing at the university when he got killed. That's one aspect of him. When he's speaking to a Christian audience, he has a different persona where he talks about how awesome Jesus is. And he just talks about family and like only straight families are awesome and everyone should have a straight cisgender family with like 2.5 bathrooms and 2.5 kids and whatever. But then you have the part where it's just like his show, where he knows he's being watched by people who already agree with him. And this is where he said a lot of the things, whether it's on his show or podcast he appeared on, he says a lot of the things that people on the left are like, oh, these are horrible, horrible things you are saying. That you don't feel safe flying in a plane if there's a black pilot because you don't trust they know how to do their job. I'm paraphrasing. Or other situations where he said black women who climbed to the top of their ranks, people like Ketanji Brown Jackson, weren't really qualified to hold those jobs. They don't really have the brain power that someone like Brett Kavanaugh might have. Listen, there's no shortage of awful things he said. And there's no shortage of like things he said that in any other context, if a pastor said it, you'd be like, yeah, that's what I expect a Christian to say. But it is weird to watch people on the right only reflect on only the good things he said while pretending that it's a horrible, horrible thing to point out. He had a much broader, what he left behind was a much broader and controversial legacy. Like, people are not mad at him because he liked to debate. They're not mad at him because he was a conservative. There are plenty of those to go around. People didn't like him on the left in general because he said a lot of racist, bigoted things against trans people, against black people, LGBTQ people in general, against atheists, against liberals, against Muslims. I mean, you name it. If they were on the left, he not just criticized them, he had slurs for them. He said really controversial, awful, awful things about them. But of course, if you mention that on social media, how many states have there been recently? I mean, I know Oklahoma is one where Ryan Walters literally sent out an email saying, here's the snitch line, where if you see a teacher saying something mean about Charlie on social media, let me know and I will have them fired. And of course, this is going on in the government and wherever conservatives who are against cancel culture, or so we are told, are like, how do I cancel people who didn't like Charlie? Anyway, that's why the AI images are weird. They suggest that he was a martyr in the same sense that MLK was, or Abraham Lincoln, or John F. Kennedy, or whatever. But the most egregious version of this, I'm going to play you a clip in just a second. What Jack Jenkins of Religion News Service found was that over this past weekend, a few different churches played the same clip of Charlie Kirk speaking from the afterlife. And how did they get this clip? Well, they all told their congregation up front, this is AI generated. So, like, we know it's fake, but also we're still going to play it for you because it sounds like something he would have said. So, let me play for you one of these clips. This is from Pastor Jack Graham, who runs a megachurch in Plano, Texas. He runs Prestonwood Baptist Church, and this is what it looked like at his church. This is what he did over the weekend.
David McKinley just sent me a clip. I think it was created, I know it was created on AI, artificial intelligence, from the words of Charlie Kirk. I was so moved just to hear it between services. You're hearing something the first service didn't. But I want you to watch this clip and hear what Charlie is saying regarding what happened to him this past week.
First, I want you to know I'm fine, not because my body is fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. Death is not the end, it's a promotion. Don't waste 1 second mourning me. I knew the risks of standing up in this cultural moment, and I'd do it all over again. Second, do not let this violence divide us further. The enemy wants chaos, fear, and retaliation. Don't give it to them. Instead, double down on truth. Double down on courage. Double down on your faith and on your families. That is how you honor me. Third, remember this. America is worth it. Free speech is worth it. Fighting for the unborn, for families, for sanity in a culture gone mad, it is all worth it. So dry your tears, pick up your cross, and get back in the fight. Do it with joy, do it with strength, and never ever let evil think it won.
That was the end of that clip, and afterwards they gave him like a full 1 minute standing ovation for the AI clip of things Charlie Kirk did not say. And this is what Jack wrote about in Religion News Service. It's unclear where the video originated, but at least 2 other large evangelical Protestant churches, Dream City Church in Arizona and Awaken Church, San Marcos in California, also played it during their services that day. Pastors at both churches made clear the clips were AI. Even so, the segment triggered applause each time. It's so strange. I mean, first of all, it feels very much when you see those memes and you watch the reaction to that AI clip, it sounds very much like these people really want to worship an idol, which I don't know. I was told you're not supposed to do that. But unlike a lot of those Christians, I've actually read the 10 Commandments. Who knew? I find it also interesting that you could very easily have just used an actual clip of things Charlie Kirk said during his life to say, like, this is the message he wanted to leave behind. But none of these churches, these 3 anyway, none of them did that. And I wonder if it's because they really couldn't find any clips that you could play in church for like a minute that are uplifting and positive. Because again, as so many people on the left have pointed out, if you play clips from his podcast, that is not what that dude sounded like. You would have a lot of very bigoted, very racist things mixed in with some of the things you saw in that AI generated clip. I am wondering Like, what's the future of this? Where are they going with these AI generated things? What's stopping churches like this from, at this point, just showing clips of like AI Jesus saying whatever it is conservative Christians want Jesus to say? Because that is kind of what they already do, right? Their whole thing is whatever it is we believe as good Republican Christians, that is what Jesus said. And then you're like, where in the Bible does Jesus talk about, trans people and abortion? And then they're like, shut up, he totally said it. What's stopping them from just AI generating whatever right-wing rant that they wish Jesus had said, instead of, all that Sermon on the Mount crap that they don't actually care about? What's stopping them from having AI videos of Jesus telling them, I need you to go out and vote for the Republican members who are running for the school board next week? That is not far away. It's coming. Mark my words. But I guess in some part of me is like, yeah, I guess that is something a church would do, play an AI clip of Charlie Kirk, because what is religion really, if not putting things you believe into the mouth of someone who never said it and isn't around anymore to challenge you on any of it? That is kind of why people go to church, right? It's for a pastor to tell you what Jesus actually said, even though you won't find those quotations in the Bible at this point. And I think in that AI clip, he fake Charlie Kirk talked about how important free speech is. And this is something you also hear from the right, that yes, that is what Charlie Kirk stood for, free speech. We're going to carry on that legacy. And what has the right been doing all week? It's just been nonstop. We are going to get you fired if you don't say something about him that we like. Oh, Jimmy Kimmel said something about his murderer. Well, then we got to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. And we'll use the FCC to do it and threaten ABC for running his show. How many people in government jobs can we get fired because they said on social media something awful? Mind you, a lot of these Republicans in real time say way worse things, because they're not quoting him directly. They say way worse things about like Ilhan Omar, a Muslim congresswoman. They have said racist things about Barack Obama. They say they want to diagnose Joe Biden just because he like was slow this one time. I mean, this happens all the time. And it's one thing if you're a government official doing it, but what you don't see are these actual campaigns to get everybody fired for not joining along with the group thing. But that is what's happening. That's the legacy Charlie Kirk has left on the right, which is, for all the talk about free speech, it's becoming very clear, especially this week, none of these people give a damn about free speech unless it happens to be speech they agree with. So, like, where are all those right-wing, shock jock, hacky comedians now? How many of them are speaking out in defense of people who are criticizing Charlie Kirk? Because their whole thing is, yeah, it's comedy. There are no rules. You can punch any direction you want to. And suddenly it's like, oh, they're going after critics of Charlie Kirk. And a lot of those people on the right are nowhere to be found. I just find that ironic. I don't know. I just wanted to play that clip for you because it's weird, and churches should find it weird. And again, even though they're prefacing that particular clip by saying it's AI generated, by the time it's done, they're acting very much like that is something he did say or totally would have said, which is something you can only believe if you never listened to what Charlie Kirk said during his life. All right, I will stop there. What questions do we have here before we move on? This is terrifying. Yeah, the AI Kirk video is terrifying. And a few months ago, in a far less serious situation, there were comedians who said, here's an AI comedy hour from George Carlin. Like, they plugged George Carlin CDs into an AI chat GPT, whatever, and it spat out what George would have said about what's going on today. And the truth came out later, which is, no, they actually scripted it and that's why it sounded so realistic, even though it sounded like his voice. But you are going to see a lot more of this. And while I do appreciate that those pastors were like, this is AI, why would you play that if not to get in the minds of that congregation, those congregations, that this is the Charlie Kirk we want you to remember, which is a dude who did not exist because he never said that stuff. And we definitely don't want you reading the news and finding out what he also said about people of color and what he wanted to do to immigrants. Like, just ignore that. We'll pretend that never happened. Let's just talk about the legacy we wish he had left behind. Jimmy Kimmel can't repeat Trump's or Kirk's own words, but the right can grift off of his death. Yep. I mean, wasn't it Brian Kilmeade on Fox this week who said we should basically euthanize mentally ill, homeless people who are living on the streets? You know what consequences he got for saying that? Nothing. He had to issue a half-hearted apology like the next day, and nothing happened. Meanwhile, if you quote Charlie Kirk directly, nope, you're going to get fired from whatever job you have. That doesn't sound like anything a MAGA would say. Yeah, it's very much like the fake pictures people generate of Donald Trump with like this buff body looking like a wrestler. Like, that's totally not your guy. And when they pretend, when they imitate Donald Trump and talk about how generous he is, what a kind man he is, it's like, no, he's not. You know how I know that? Because I listen to the shit he actually says, and it's horrific. So these people who really just want to whitewash all the shit these people did during their lives and just pretend they never happened, like, who are you trying to protect here? Yourself, clearly, because you don't want to have the vision you have tarnished.